We now start module 2 of chapter 7. The title of this module is Zeros of an analytic function. We already know that a point z equal to z0 is called an ordinary point or regular point of f if f is analytic at z0. Otherwise, z0 is called singular point of the function f. In this module, we discuss about zeros of an analytic function. We also know that if z equal to z0 is an singularity of a function f, and if there exists a neighborhood of z0 which contains no other singular point of f, then z0 is called an isolated singularity of f. Here we show that zeros of an analytic function are always isolated points. In this module, we establish the relation between zeros and poles of a function f. We show that if z0 is a pole of f of order m, then it is a 0 of 1 by f of same order m, and vice versa. We also show that the limiting point of zeros are isolated essential singularity, whereas the limit point of poles are non-isolated essential singularity. In this module, we also prove an important result known as Weierstrass-Cassorotti theorem. At last, we provide some example relating to this module. We now start our presentation. We now start zeros of an analytic function. If z0 is a regular point of an analytic function f, and if f z0 equal to 0, then z0 is called a 0 of f. The point z0 is called a 0 of f of order m if in some neighborhood of z0 f can be expanded in a Taylor series of the form fz equal to summation n equal to m to infinity a n z minus z0 to the power n, where a m is not 0. We now prove a result: a point z equal to z0 is a 0 of f of order m if and only if in some neighborhood of z0 f can be expressed in the form fz equal to z minus z0 to the power m into phi z, where phi z is analytic at z0 and phi z0 is not 0. So, first we assume that z0 is a 0 of f of multiplicity m. Then in some neighborhood of z0 we can expand f as fz equal to summation n equal to m to infinity a n z minus z0 to the power n, where a m is not 0. Then we can write fz equal to z minus z0 to the power m into summation n equal to m to infinity a n z minus z0 to the power n minus m, that is equal to z minus z0 to the power m summation p equal to 0 to infinity b p z minus z0 to the power p, where we write n minus m equal to p and b p equal to a p plus m, and that is we can write z minus z0 to the power m phi z, where phi z equal to summation p equal to 0 to infinity b p z minus z0 to the power p, which is analytic at z0, and phi z0 is obviously b0, and that is equal to am, which is not 0. Next, we assume that in some neighborhood of z0, f can be expressed as fz equal to z minus z0 to the power m into phi z, where phi is analytic at z0 and phi is not 0 at z0. Then we can expand phi in Taylor series about z0 of the form phi z equal to summation n equal to 0 to infinity a n z minus z0 to the power n, where a0 equal to phi z0 not equal to 0. Therefore, in some neighborhood of z0, we have fz equal to z minus z0 to the power m summation n equal to 0 to infinity a n z minus z0 to the power n, that is equal to summation n equal to 0 to infinity a n z minus z0 to the power n plus m, and this we write equal to summation p equal to m to infinity bp z minus z0 to the power p, where m plus n equal to p and bp equal to a p minus m. Since bm is equal to a0 not equal to 0, z0 is a 0 of f of order m. This proves our result. So now we prove another result. The zeros of a non-constant analytic function are isolated points. Let z0 be a 0 of f of order m. Then by definition, in some neighborhood of z0, f can be expressed in the form fz equal to z minus z0 to the power m phi z, where phi is analytic at z0 and phi z0 is not 0. We take epsilon equal to half modulus phi z0, which is greater than 0. Since phi z is continuous at z0, there exists a delta positive such that modulus phi z minus phi z0 is less than epsilon, which is equal to half mod phi z0 whenever modulus z minus z0 is less than delta. Therefore, modulus phi z0 minus modulus phi z is less or equal to modulus phi z minus phi z0, and which is less than half mod phi z0 whenever modulus z minus z0 is less than delta. From this we obtain half modulus phi z0 is less than modulus phi z whenever modulus z minus z0 is less than delta. This means that phi z not equal to 0 in mod z minus z0 less than delta. Hence, f cannot vanish in 0 less than mod z minus z0 less than delta. Thus, z0 is an isolated 0 of f. z0 being arbitrary, we thus conclude that zeros of an analytic function are isolated point. This proves the theorem. Now we prove another result. The number of zeros of an analytic function which is not identically 0 interior to a simple closed contour are finite. So proof: if possible, we may assume that fz has infinite number of zeros inside a region enclosed by a closed contour. The region being bounded and closed by Bolzano-Weierstrass theorem, any sequence of zeros a1, a2, etc. in the region has a limit point in that region. Let A be the limit point of the sequence, that is, there exists a subsequence a nk such that a nk tends to a as k tends to infinity. This implies that f of a equal to limit k tending to infinity f of a nk, and that is equal to 0. Therefore, a is a 0 of the function, and in every neighborhood of a, however small it may be, there are infinitely many zeros. This means that a is not isolated, which contradicts the fact that the zeros of an analytic function are isolated points. Hence, the number of zeros of an analytic function interior to a simple closed contour are finite in number. This proves the theorem. So, note, if fz and gz are analytic at z0 and have zeros of order m and n respectively, then the product function hz equal to fz gz has a 0 of order m plus n at z0. Now, we consider an example. Find order of 0 of the function fz equal to z to the power 4 sin z at z equal to 0. So, at z equal to 0, the function z to the power 4 has a 0 of order 4, and the function sin z has a 0 of order 1. Therefore, the function z to the power 4 sin z has a 0 of order 4 plus 1, that is equal to 5 at the point z equal to 0. Now, we prove an important result known as Weierstrass and Cassioratti theorem. The result is, if fz has an isolated essential singularity at z equal to z0, then fz comes arbitrarily close to every complex value in each deleted neighborhood of z0. So, proof: since z equal to z0 is an isolated essential singularity of f, it is analytic throughout a deleted neighborhood of z0. Suppose for complex number c that modulus fz minus c is greater or equal to epsilon, that is greater than 0. For all z in a puncture disk, 0 less than mod z minus z0 less than delta. Let gz equal to 1 by fz minus c. Then we have modulus gz, which is equal to modulus 1 by fz minus c, and that is less or equal to 1 by epsilon whenever 0 less than mod z minus z0 less than delta. Hence, by Riemann's theorem, gz has a removable singularity at z0, and we may write gz equal to 1 by fz minus c equal to a0 plus a1 z minus z0 plus a2 z minus z0 square plus etc. From this we observe that limit z tending to z0 1 by fz minus c is equal to a0. Now, we consider following two cases. Number 1, we first assume that a0 is non-zero. Then limit z tending to z0 fz is equal to c plus 1 by a0, and fz has a removable singularity at z0, which is a contradiction. Case 2, next we assume that a0 equal to 0. We also assume that ak is the first non-zero coefficient. Then 1 by fz minus c into z minus z0 to the power k is equal to ak plus ak plus 1 z minus z0 plus ak plus 2 z minus z0 square plus etc. Therefore, limit z tends to z0, z minus z0 to the power k into fz minus c, which is equal to 1 by ak, which is not equal to 0, and fz has a pole of order k at z0, which is also a contradiction. So, this proves our theorem. Now, corollary, suppose that fz has an isolated essential singularity at z0. Given any complex number c, there exists a sequence zn such that zn tends to z0 and f of zn tends to c. So, proof, we choose a sequence delta n for which delta n greater than 0 for every n, and limit n tending to infinity delta n equal to 0. Therefore, by Weierstrass-Casorati theorem, we can find a sequence of points zn such that modulus f zn minus c is less than 1 by n for 0 less than mod zn minus z0 less than delta n. Thus, f of zn tends to c as zn tends to z0. This proves the corollary. So far, we have discussed about zeros of an analytic function, and we see that if f is analytic at a point z0 and f of z0 equal to 0, then z0 is called a 0 of f. We also prove that zeros of an analytic function are isolated points. We also prove an important result known as Weierstrass-Casorati theorem, which states that if z0 is an isolated essential singularity of a function f, then fz comes arbitrarily close to every complex value in each deleted neighborhood of z0. Now, we establish relation between zeros and poles. We also show that limit point of zeros are isolated essential singularity. We also discuss singularity at point at infinity. Now, we start our presentation. We prove that a point z0 is a pole of order m of a function f if and only if it is a 0 of order m of the function 1 by f. So, first we assume that z0 is a pole of f of order m. Then in some neighborhood of z0, we can write fz equal to gz by z minus z0 to the power m, where g is analytic at z0 and g of z0 not equal to 0. Therefore, 1 by fz is equal to z minus z0 to the power m into hz, where hz equal to 1 by gz is analytic at z0 and h of z0 is not equal to 0. This shows that z0 is a 0 of 1 by f of order m. Next, we assume that z0 is a 0 of 1 by f of order m. Then in some neighborhood of z0, we can write 1 by fz equal to z minus z0 to the power m into gz, where g is analytic at z0 and g z0 not equal to 0. Then we can write fz equal to hz by z minus z0 to the power m, where hz equal to 1 by gz, which is analytic at z0 and not 0 at z0. This shows that z0 is a pole of f of order m. Now we prove another result. If a function f has an essential singularity at z0, then the function 1 by f has also an essential singularity at z0. Proof: if possible, we assume that z0 is a regular point of 1 by f and it is not a 0 of 1 by f. Then z0 is a regular point of f, contradicting the nature of z0. Next, we assume that z0 be a regular point of 1 by f and it is a 0 of 1 by f of order m. Then z0 is a pole of f of order m, which contradicts the nature of z0. Let z0 be a pole of 1 by f of order m. Then z0 is a 0 of f of order m, which contradicts the nature of z0. Therefore, the only possibility that remains for z0 is to be essential singularity of 1 by f. Now we define singularity at point at infinity. The behavior of a function fz at z equal to infinity is considered by making the substitution z equal to 1 by w and examining the nature of f of 1 by w at w equal to 0. It is to be noted that fz is regular or has a pole or has an essential singularity at z equal to infinity if f of 1 by w has the same property at w equal to 0. As for example, the function fz equal to z square has a pole of order 2 at z equal to infinity. Again, the function fz equal to e to the power z has an essential singularity at z equal to infinity, because f of 1 by w equal to e to the power 1 by w has an essential singularity at w equal to 0. Now we prove a result. The limit point of the zeros of an analytic function is an essential singularity of the function unless the function is identically 0. Proof: let z0 be a limit point of the zeros of f. Then in every deleted neighborhood of z0, f has infinitely many zeros. We have to show that z0 is an essential singularity of f. If possible, we assume that z0 is a regular point of f. Then f is continuous at z0. So, for positive epsilon, there exists positive delta such that modulus fz minus fz0 is less than epsilon whenever modulus z minus z0 is less than delta. Since there are infinitely many zeros of f in 0 less than mod z minus z0 less than delta, for all those zeros we have modulus fz0 is less than epsilon. Since epsilon greater than 0 is arbitrary, we obtain f of z0 equal to 0. This means that z0 is a 0 of f, which is not possible unless f is identically 0. Therefore, z0 is not a regular point of f. Let z0 be a pole of f. Then mod fz tends to infinity as z tends to z0. Therefore, given any positive number g, we can find a number mu greater than 0 such that modulus fz is greater than g whenever 0 less than mod z minus z0 is less than mu. This is not possible as the deleted neighborhood 0 less than mod z minus z0 less than mu contains infinite number of zeros of f. Hence, Z0 cannot be a pole of f. Thus, Z0 is an essential singularity of f unless f is identically 0. This proves the theorem. So, now we prove another result. The limit point of the poles of an analytic function is a non-isolated essential singularity of the function. Let Z0 be a limit point of the poles of f. Since every neighborhood of Z0 contains infinite number of poles of f, Z0 cannot be a regular point of f. Hence, Z0 is a singularity of f which is non-isolated. Since poles are isolated, Z0 cannot be a pole of f. Therefore, Z0 is a non-isolated essential singularity of f. This proves the result. Now, we define a function called meromorphic function. A function having no singularities other than poles in the finite complex plane is called a meromorphic function. As for example, the function fz equal to z by z minus 1 square into z minus 2, which is analytic everywhere in the finite complex plane except at the poles z equal to 1 and at z equal to 2 is a meromorphic function. We note that z equal to 1 is a pole of fz of order 2 and z equal to 2 is a simple pole of fz. On the other hand, fz equal to e to the power 1 by z has an essential singularity at z equal to 0, and so it is not a meromorphic function. Now, we prove that a function which is analytic everywhere including the point at infinity is constant. Since f is analytic for all finite z, it has a Taylor series expansion near z equal to 0 of the form fz equal to summation n equal to 0 to infinity a n z to the power n, where the series converges for all z. So, replacing z by 1 by w, we obtain f of 1 by w equal to a0 plus a1 by w plus a2 by w square plus etc. Since f of 1 by w is regular at w equal to 0, a n equal to 0 for n equal to 1 to etc. Hence, fz equal to a0, which is a constant. This proves the theorem. Another result, a function which is analytic everywhere in the finite complex plane and has a pole of order m at point at infinity is a polynomial of degree m. So, since f is analytic for all finite z, it has a Taylor series expansion near z equal to 0 of the form fz equal to summation n equal to 0 to infinity a n z to the power n, where the series converges for all z. So, replacing z by 1 by w, we obtain f of 1 by w equal to this. Since f of 1 by w has a pole of order m at w equal to 0, we have a n equal to 0 for n equal to m plus 1, m plus 2 etc. and hence the result follows. Now, we consider an example. Locate and name all the singularities of the function fz equal to z to the power 8 plus z to the power 4 plus 2 by z minus 1 cube 3z plus 2 square. So, clearly the function f has singularity at z equal to 1, at z equal to minus 2 by 3. Obviously, z equal to 1 is a pole of f of order 3 and z equal to minus 2 by 3 is a pole of f of order 2. Now, we verify singularity at infinity. So, we replace z by 1 by w and we obtain f of 1 by w equal to this. Since w equal to 0 is a pole of f of 1 by w of order 3, it follows that z equal to infinity is a pole of f of order 3. Therefore, it has 3 singularities in the extended complex plane. Another example, examine the singularity of the function fz equal to sin 1 by z plus 1 plus sin 1 by z minus 1. Zeros of sin 1 by z plus 1 are given by z equal to minus 1 plus 1 by n pi, where n 0 plus minus 1 plus minus 2 and so on. The limit point of the zeros is the point z equal to minus 1. Therefore, z equal to minus 1 is an essential singularity of sin 1 by z plus 1. Similarly, z equal to 1 is an essential singularity of sin 1 by z minus 1. Therefore, z equal to minus 1 and 1 are two essential singularities of the given function fz. At the end of this module, we came to know about zeros of an analytic function, some of its properties. We also proved Weierstrass-Cassiotti theorem about essential singularity. We also established the relation between zeros and poles. We also see that a function f is analytic in the extended complex plane means the function is constant. We also provide some example relating to this module. For more problem, please see the self assessment part and some reference books. This ends module 2 of chapter 7.